Hi, I'm Cliff, and this is my garage. Today, we're going to talk about how a piece of wrapping vinyl really messed up the paint on the hood of my car. Hey, welcome back to the garage. And if this is your first time joining me, thanks for dropping by. About 8 months ago, I really got tired of looking at the old, kind of discolored, messed up PPF that was on the hood of the Cayman, and I went ahead and peeled it off. That was a real pain in the butt process, but I got it done, got all the adhesive off of it, and did a little paint correction, and the hood was looking pretty good. And I wanted to keep it that way. I had a DE coming up. I didn't have time to put more PPF back onto the hood. So I had purchased a piece of carbon fiber or fake carbon fiber vinyl for a different project. It was the right size. I went ahead and applied it to the hood. And honestly, it looked pretty good. And I ended up leaving it on there. It protected the paint. And like I said, I thought it looked pretty neat. Well, fast forward 8 months later to a few days ago, and I'm changing out the quote livery of the car. I'm going to be doing a partial wrap with a kind of contrasting color, changing out the color of the sponsor logo, just redoing the exterior appearance of the car for the new season of HPDE this year. And so I went and looked at the instructions on how to remove the vinyl. It said heat it up. So I pulled the car out, let it sit in the sun for a little while. It wasn't a particularly hot day, probably in the 70s, and just let the vinyl warm up in the sun. Brought it back in and peeled it off. It came off fairly easily, and I thought, okay, I'm done. And then I noticed something looked a little odd. As I walked past the car just after removing the vinyl, I noticed a contrast, a difference between the hood and the fender right next to it. It looked like the hood was almost hazy. And I thought, oh, okay, it must be just some leftover adhesive that's just kind of coating the hood. And then I took a closer look at it. And as you can see in this video here, the the discoloration, the haziness is actually a pattern of tiny little hexagons that are left from the vinyl. The vinyl has a hexagon shaped air release channel on the back to help with the installation. And the whatever it was left behind was in that hex pattern. Obviously, it had something to do with the adhesive. So my first thought was, oh, well, it's just some leftover adhesive on there. I know how to handle that. I grabbed some 3M general purpose adhesive cleaner, which is my very favorite way to clean off adhesives, right up there with WD-40. And if you want to know more about this stuff, I'll give you a link in that corner up there. And that as a video I did recently about both WD-40 and this 3M stuff to use as adhesive cleaners, which are far superior to things like Goo Gone. So generally, if it's an easy job, I'll use WD-40. If it's a little bit more difficult job, which I knew with the adhesive it would be from experience of cleaning up after vinyl, I would need to use the 3M. So I put a little bit of 3M on the surface, rubbed it like I normally would, dried it off, and Hmm, no change. It looked exactly the same. So then I got a little more serious. I got out my Griot's dual action polisher and some Griot's complete compound, which is what I use. Works great for doing paint correction on the car, getting out swirl marks and minor scratches. And I've never had to do this with any other kind of vinyl, but I thought, okay, I'll just have to get a slightly bigger gun. End result, no change. It looked exactly the same after trying to clean it up using a dual action polisher and polishing compound. Hmm, this is getting a little scary. So then I brought out the big gun, a clay bar. This is a fairly abrasive clay bar, something that you would use on heavily damaged paint, really. And I clay barred part of the hood. And well, okay, now no change. Exactly the same. No difference at all. Okay, now I'm getting kind of distressed. This wasn't some cheap Chinese vinyl that I got off of eBay with God knows what kind of adhesive on it. This was Avery Dennison SW900, their supreme wrapping film. This is pretty much top of the line stuff. And I was mystified by what exactly had happened. I was looking at it, I couldn't feel any kind of actual pattern. So, what it appears has happened here is that the adhesive on the vinyl has actually discolored or maybe even like etched the clear coat of the paint. So I contacted Avery Dennison. I said, "Hey, look at this. What has happened here?" Now I wasn't like aggressive or angry or demanding that they repaint my car or anything. I was just simply asking, "This has happened. Do you know what this is? Is this what is this?" I was just looking for some answers. After a couple of days, I got back a response from Avery, and I was really kind of disappointed to see them immediately shifting to blame the customer mode. The first questions they asked were, "Well, did you have this installed by a professional?" Let's see. I believe the phrase they used was certified trained installer. Did you have it removed by a certified trained installer? So I replied to them that no, I'm not like certified and trained, but I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while now. It's not like I don't know what I'm doing. And I've used numerous other vinyls and I've never seen this effect before. I'm just looking for an explanation of what's happening here. So they came back and their next question was, well, how old is the car? Has it been repainted or is this OEM paint? Okay, so I kind of see what that's sort of a valid question because an issue with wrapping vinyl and older paint or repaints is that you can get a lack or a breakdown of adhesion between the paint and the underlying base coats over time. But that question of age really affects removability and its tendency to peel paint off with it, not somehow chemically interacting with the paint. I mean, if there is a chemical incompatibility the uh, between the film and the clear coat, that in my mind is going to happen whether the clear coat is new or whether it's 5 years or 10 or 12 or 15 years old. That chemical incompatibility was there. But I went ahead and replied to them and said, well, it's a 2012, so it's a 9-year-old car and it is the OEM paint. And Avery Dennison's response basically boiled down to, well, it's more than 5 years old. Sucks to be you. Now, in my mind, this is not really a valid um, explanation. The paint itself is not physically damaged. Okay, I can't feel anything. Looking very closely, even with a magnifying glass, I can see no surface damage to the paint. It is actually an etching or a discoloration in the clear coat. That's why I think it's really the adhesive and the clear coat were incompatible. Something in Avery Dennison's adhesive discolored the clear coat on the paint. So, what am I going to do about it? Well, a couple of things. First off, I'm not going to try and repaint the hood, which it appears is the only way to truly fix the problem. At least not now. I'm planning to rewrap the hood anyway as part of the redo of the livery on the car. So at this point in time, it really doesn't matter. I don't really need to fix it per se. So my first step is basically I'm going to ignore it. But the second step of how I'm going to take care of this or what I'm going to do about it is quite simply never buy Avery Dennison wrapping film again. I've used multiple different brands of wrapping film on this car. Just off the top of my head, I know that I've used 3M, Oracal or Orifal, and Vivid, and none of them have done anything like this. They have not harmed the paint or done anything to the paint in any way. The only thing I've had is that they might leave a little bit of glue as a residue, which with my 3M adhesive cleaner comes off right away. So now I'm not saying that Avery Dennison wrapping film destroys the paint of any car you put it on because that would be silly. Obviously, that's not true. They wouldn't even be in business. However, I've never seen this happen with any other car. I've never heard of it happening. I'm sorry, with any other film. I've never heard of it happening with any other film. So, given the choice of all these wrapping films, and only one of them has actually done any damage to the paint, the easy answer is just use some other film, which is what I'm going to do. I believe I'm going to pick a Vivid film to do the wrap this time, and I will simply never buy Avery Dennison again. Now, if you have used Avery Dennison, you're happy with it, you love it, hey, that's great. My experience has been very different, and I'm going to be taking a different path forward. Now, before you go down there, smack that thumbs up button, give me a like on the video, help me get in good with YouTube, feed that algorithm, and get my videos recommended to more people. Help me grow the channel. The other thing is, while you're down there, if you haven't subscribed yet, go click on that big big shiny red subscribe button. And if you are one of my subscribers, go down there and make sure that you're still subscribed. I keep getting the occasional email, hey, is something going on? I was suddenly unsubscribed to your channel. So go check it out. Make sure that that button is gray and not red. And then finally, if you want to keep up with everything going on here in the garage with the Cayman, with my track days, with upgrades to the garage, all this stuff, go and click on that bell icon. That turns on notifications for this channel. It's absolutely free, and that way YouTube will let you know every time that I post something new from here in Cliff's Garage. I'll see you next time.